So I got a very interesting question in the comments of one of my videos, and the question is she getting my thoughts immediately when I'm affirming for her, or is it delayed? Well, there is different factors that we need to talk about. Usually thought transmission is imminent, and you all know the examples of you've been thinking about a friend and all of a sudden they call, which means you were the one who's been picking up on their idea of calling you. They pop into your mind and then they call you right after. Or it could be, of course, the other way around. You've been thinking about them, they're picking up on it, and maybe they're not calling in that instant because they're busy, but then they realize, oh, I want to talk to you, and then they call you. However, I also believe thought transmission can be delayed. Let's say you're focused on something, you're not open, you're not receiving, you're not in the alpha or theta state, maybe you're busy, you're in the beta state, beta brainwave state, which means we are focused on something, and then it's like we're blocked because we have to focus on something else, right? So then that may not come in right in that moment. I mean, imagine the other way around. Probably there's someone thinking about you right now. Maybe your mom is thinking about you right now. Maybe a colleague or boss is thinking about you. Maybe that neighbor that is walking past your door right now is thinking about you. There may be a plenty of people thinking about you right now in this moment. And you cannot pick up on all of that because that would be too much, right? You would be all day picking up on people thinking about you. We couldn't get anything done. So there needs to be some kind of protection, in those specific phases when our attention needs to be somewhere else. But then still, even though it is not coming in that moment, it doesn't mean that it doesn't reach them, because they will have some quiet time and there may be some delay that when they're open in that moment. So that could be one thing, it's the protection of being overburdened by all the people they may be thinking about us in that very moment, and we just cannot take it all in. That would be too much. But there is more reasons. Make sure to watch the entire video to find out all of the reasons why thought transmission may be delayed or actually not even getting to that person. Well, one is, of course, when we think about something, I don't think that every tiny thought is always projected. I think sometimes it needs to gain some momentum. And also it depends what energy you are in. If you are in this lack mentality and you're constantly thinking, oh my God, I missed them so much, it hurts, they're not reaching out, where are they? They're not receiving your thoughts. Even before I knew about the law of assumption, I have been coaching people for almost 2 decades now, and a lot of it also as a psychic through reading cards. And many things I picked up then, I now can connect to the law of assumption. One thing I told my clients, and it makes perfect sense here, is that when we are in the too emotional, unhealed emotional energy, the lack, the longing, the missing, maybe even the anger, all of those unhealthy, imbalanced emotions, and you share your emotion with the other person. Let's say you have, when you connect, 100% emotional and rational energy that you share. If you've got all of the emotional energy, there is none left for them, and they're in the rational energy. They're denying their feelings, they're withdrawing, they're ghosting, they're rationalizing, they're just not in their emotions. And if we send out from this energy, it's not positive energy. It's like, I'm mad at you and you're not calling me. Well, okay, that is also thought transmission, because what is getting transmitted is, I'm mad at you, please stay away, because you would not want to go to a person where you feel negative energy coming from, right? Or you're not calling me, so they're not thinking about calling you. If you have assumptions like they're not even thinking about me, guess what? They're not even thinking about you. And if you then sit down and affirm a couple of times, they're thinking about me, but your dominant assumption is still they're not caring, they're not thinking about me. It does take a while to tip the scale to get, yes, they do care about me, the dominant assumption within yourself. Because we cannot manifest from lack. Because lack automatically implies they're not there. So yes, there is thought transmission. Don't come, right? But it's not the thought transmission you want. It is not what you're affirming or visualizing or scripting or whatever your technique is. It is what you don't want, but still that is your negative energy. So just sitting down, not going to reach them if you affirm a couple of times. So you first have to clear your negative assumptions about they don't even care about me, they're not reaching out. Work on self-concept. Turn into the person, they're always reaching out. I am the person who's always worthy of love. Everyone I loved always loved me back. I am the person who always feels safe in that connection. I am the person who always gets commitment. And if you have established that, the healthy self-concept, then you're no longer in this negative emotional energy. You are aligned. And what does that mean? You are at peace with the situation, and it doesn't have to be like 100%. I'm not saying that you never can get through the other person. Of course, even if you are in pain, you can affirm, they're calling me, and maybe they're calling you, yes, but you will still not get that commitment if you are in this energy. So some of it may reach them if you just put enough energy in, but what we really want is for them to come and to stay and to get into this harmonious relationship or get that job, right? We don't want any like ups and downs. But as long as there's ups and downs within us, that is what's getting projected back to us. Because thought transmission, again, is not just what we want them to pick up on. It is everything concerning them, but also concerning ourselves. If we're energetically the person that is never chosen, they're not going to choose you. Doesn't matter how often you affirm they're choosing me. You first have to be the person that is chosen energetically by doing Ho'oponopono revision, the tapping methods, or affirming I am the one who's always been chosen. That is like a revision itself in that affirmation. Remember, you're always broadcasting the stronger energy within yourself. If there is like a no contact situation. If, of course, there's just like you're already together, you're happy, there's this mind alteration, and then you're affirming, there is not a lot of resistance. And then, yes, it can reach then quite fast. But if there's a lot of resistance, a lot of desperation, a lot of pain, a lot of impatience, that energy is thought transmitted in stay away. So yes, that thought transmission is also eminent, but not what you're affirming. However, don't be worried. Like, as I said, you don't always have to be like 100% aligned. That is not what it's about. When are we ever like 100% aligned, right? Because that is life. It depends a lot on your self-concept. So even if you have like an amazing self-concept, like I'm the one who always gets called, and now they're not calling you because there's some stress, or maybe you have not taken care of your needs in the last, couple of weeks, and then they cannot show you how amazing you are. But the basis of your self-concept is, no, I'm always being treated well, and there's just like this hiccup right now, then of course that can be fixed quite easily, and then they can come. Yeah, and then even though you are like in negative thoughts or emotion in that moment, your deeper rooted self-concept is, no, in the end, they're always coming back. In the end, I always get commitment. In the end, I always get whatever it is. So self-concept, of course, is stronger than our current mood. We can be in a negative mood and still manifest. It does also depend on your self-concept and on the specific situation. But usually thought transmission is eminent. However, as I said, to sum it up, it is not always what you're constantly affirming. That what lies underneath, all of the pain and impatience, if that is the dominant energy, then that is what's getting transferred, and not what you consciously try to transfer. Yeah, that is why self-concept is vital. But once that is stable, it will be pretty eminent. Unless, of course, they are busy in that very moment, and then it may be a little bit delayed till, they are maybe more in the alpha state or theta state, and it will get to them. But not always exactly in that moment. However, in theory, yes, thought transmission is eminent in theory, but practically not always, because again, not every person that is thinking about you right now, you can't think about them at the same moment. It's just not always possible. I hope it helped. If it did, please like, comment, share. Check out my new channel, Janine Nicole Robotic Affirmation and Subliminal, if you want to reprogram the subconscious mind to manifest faster. Link is below. Of course, you can reach out for personal coaching. I have 20 years almost experience when it comes to personal coaching, and I'm looking forward to help you too. I've already helped so many people. And I do see you there in personal coaching or in another video on my new channel. Until then, I wish you all the best now. Bye-bye. If you want to book your own custom-made affirmation or subliminal, you will find my contact information in the description box below.